Good evening. In sports news tonight, let's talk basketball. Now, the NBA 2020-2021 season is set to begin next week, that is December 22nd, as was announced by the NBA, that's the National Basketball Association, alongside the National Basketball Players Association last month on 9th November. Now, of course, they have to ensure that this is all done with respect or with regards to ensuring healthy measures or health measures are followed right to the T. I'm joined by NBA analyst and, of course, NBA.com writer, Kaunda Chama, to give us more insight on what to expect. Good day to you, Kaunda. How are you doing?
I'm good, Talu. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I'm excited. I know you're excited. So let's get straight into it. What should we expect, seeing that we're only 6 days away from the beginning of the season?
Look, with less than a week to go, Talu, I think the most exciting thing at the moment is opening night. Because first of all, the Golden State Warriors travel to Brooklyn to take on the Brooklyn Nets. And there they're going to meet one Kevin Durant, who last played for them. And now he's on an opposing team with championship-winning Kyrie Irving, who won the championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016. And they've got a hot squad. And then the Golden State Warriors were a little bit hobbled because one of their key players got injured just before the season started. So that's going to be exciting to watch. Now, a game that I'm really excited about on opening night, that is the Los Angeles Lakers taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. And now,
why not? You're a Lakers fan. I should have expected you to be excited over that one.
Absolutely. Look, the Clippers have all the excuses from last season as why they didn't show up in the finals and why they didn't play the Los Angeles Lakers. So they've got another opportunity to prove themselves. And we're going to see on opening night what their caliber really is, because the Lakers have really read up. They've added some great talent to their roster, although they've lost a couple of players here and there. But I don't see any team really giving the Lakers much trouble this season. And that opening night game, I think, is going to set the tone for the rest of the season.
All right, so let's move away from the Clippers and the Lakers. Let's talk about James Harden and why his preseason debut is making a lot of noise all over, social media, through media houses. Why are they talking about him? Why are they talking about this Rockets player?
Well, James Harden, first of all, when he left OKC many years ago and he was made the marquee player at the Houston Rockets, everybody expected that he's going to bring a championship to Houston. And what happened is when he was joined by Dwight Howard, that didn't work and they got rid of Dwight Howard. Mm-hmm. Then he was joined by Chris Paul and they almost made it to the Western Conference Finals, but Chris Paul got injured and that didn't work and there was friction in the locker room. Mm-hmm. Now, last season, he was joined by one Russell Westbrook, another superstar, another perennial all-star, and they had played together at OKC and that didn't work. And now Chris Paul has gone to the Washington Wizards. And now James Harden has been joined by one John Wall. And people are expecting that maybe things will look better this time around. But he really wants to leave Houston. He's not happy being in Houston. He's made that, clearly felt in the media. And he didn't show up for some of the training sessions and their first game. And people thought he was just waiting to be traded away, which didn't happen. So when he made it for his debut, everybody was like, oh, so James Harden is still in Houston, because clearly none of the locations where he fancied himself have said, bring him and we'll give you a couple of pieces for him. So being one of the top 5 players in the league at the moment, if he wants to leave his team, it becomes big news. And people want to know where he's going to wind up. There were even rumors that he was going to go to Brooklyn and join Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That didn't work. So, Talu, it's going to be interesting. He might leave Houston and he might not.
All right. Speaking of big signings, one that I'm absolutely happy about and I'm a bit too excited is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I do not like saying his name because it just rubs off my tongue. Antetokounmpo. $228.2 million. That's big. How did he get to this place?
That's one of the biggest, re-signs in NBA history. And we're glad to say that he's of Nigerian descent. So that's Africa making that.
That's African blood on those courts.
Absolutely. And then he's a back-to-back MVP, Talu. So you got to know his value has gone through the roof. And I think without him, the Milwaukee Bucks at the moment have no chance of making it I don't think they'll probably even make the playoffs. And with him on that squad, being the team leader, being the back-to-back MVP, being 3 times All-Star, I think he is their most valuable player at that team. He's not only the MVP in the league, he's obviously the MVP at his squad as well. And they really need it. Without Giannis, I think the Bucks would have to rebuild from scratch because I don't see them having another leader with as much impact as he has. And if he beats LeBron James twice, for that MVP spot, you just know that there's caliber there, there's quality there. And the fact that the Bucks did whatever they could to keep him, because there were rumors that he was going to come and join us in the purple and gold in Los Angeles. And I'm sure that must have sent ripple effects throughout Milwaukee. And they were like, look, we're going to pay this young man whatever he needs to keep him.
Speaking of, star players for certain teams, I have to talk about the Lakers' star players, the duo. Of course, that's LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The two are scaring other teams because last season, the two being coupled together, it was just too much. Do you think just that is going to, bring a bit of fear to the other teams?
Look, Talu, you watched the finals last season. Pairing up LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you're putting two top 5 players in the league in one team. And then you're putting some really good pieces around them. I mean, last season they had JaVale McGee, they had Dwight Howard, they had Rajon Rondo, they had Markieff Morris. You name them. I could go through that whole squad. Kyle Kuzma, they had a really solid squad. And although JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and Rajon Rondo have left, they've replaced them with Dennis Schroeder and Marc Gasol. So they still have a really strong squad. And then you have a strong squad plus 2 of the top 5 players in the league. Of course, other teams are going to be scared. No matter how you look at it, there are few teams, if at all, that can put fear into the Lakers squad at the moment or can give the Lakers that much trouble. Even the fancied Clippers, we saw them choke last season in the postseason. They really don't have much in their tank to come at the Lakers and really give them a good run for their money. If they were to play a series right now, I would call it straight away, Lakers in 5. They would probably let the Clippers win 2 games just to make them themselves, but they would wipe the floor with them.
Well, it sounds to me like the Lakers have a head start already.
Absolutely. I think if you look at it objectively, not only in the West, but in the league as a whole, the Lakers at the moment are standing head and shoulders above even the next best team, whether you're talking about the Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, Utah Jazz, Brooklyn Nets, Atlanta Hawks. They are pretty far away from where the Lakers are. But anyway, it's too early for me to start getting all big-mouthed about my Lakers. But if I look at it on paper, just on paper, the Lakers are head and shoulders above whatever team comes next, which is the Clippers, if you ask me at the moment.
All right, so let's move away to something a bit important. Fan attendance. How is that going to play out? I know some teams are planning to have fans come and watch their games. Others are not. How is it running? How are they going to run that out?
Look, Taylor, at the moment, I think health comes first, and you got to always err on the side of caution. And, the way, unlike soccer, which is played out in open stadiums, basketball is played in enclosed arenas, and that causes a problem, especially when you're trying to beat a global pandemic such as COVID-19. And I don't blame the NBA for being very cautious. And what I think the bubble showed us is we can still have that excitement. We can still have top marquee games. We can still have athletes performing at their peak, even when fans are not there. I know with the current situation with them now using their arenas, you can't have that virtual fan situation work as good as it did in the bubble. But I think for the meantime, before everybody gets the vaccine, I support them not having fans at all. I think we can all watch them home. I'm happy with that as a fan, even as an analyst.
You're happy watching from home, away from that fire that comes with being, right in front of the team as they play.
Look, Talu, you can't replace that. As a fan, I know that excitement when the thunder starts coming out through the fans, they're stamping their feet, clapping their hands, and when the DJ plays that music and you see just everything coming together. I mean, one thing the NBA prides themselves at is not only the game, it's the entire experience, from the dunkers to the cheerleaders to people shooting T-shirts into the crowd. It all comes together as a big NBA experience. But when you've got health risks to deal with, I think as fans, we can live at the moment with the fact that not everybody has had the coronavirus vaccine, so we can't risk putting fans in the crowd, because
Yes,
this is how
indeed.
it all started. If you remember March 11th, which
Yes.
sadly also happens to be my birthday,
Oh
when
my
everything was
word.
shut down. Yes, I had the worst
Should I
birthday
say
present.
sorry, or what should I say? Because you're a loyal fan, so you understand that we had to sacrifice your birthday.
Absolutely. Can you imagine, Salu? But because they saved lives, I'm okay with it for the time being.
Okay, so should we expect to see any new faces?
Any new faces? Yes, I think at the moment, a person to watch is one of the Ball brothers. I know his father is always in the news for shooting off at his
Yes,
mouth,
yes.
talking too loud. LeVar Ball, I tip my hat off to him, because he said he would see all his sons playing in the NBA at the same time, and it almost happened. But sadly, 2 days
Almost.
ago, his second born son was waived by the Detroit Pistons, and sadly he's not going to be playing. But his firstborn Lonzo Ball is playing at the New Orleans Pelicans, and his thirdborn LaMelo Ball, the new Melo on the block, is playing for
Yes.
Mike Jordan, in Buzz City with the Charlotte Hornets. So I think LaMelo Ball, to me, he's played a bit of pro ball in Europe and in Australia, and he comes in with very high basketball IQ. I saw him in his first 2 games. He looks loose. He's assisting. He's not scoring much yet, but I know he can score. But if there's somebody you really have to look out for this season, it's as a new fresh face, it's LaMelo Ball. Now, there's at the Lakers, as I must always talk about my Lakers, there's a second year, a sophomore. His name is Talon Horton Tucker. He played a couple of impressive minutes during the finals and the playoffs last season, but he has come in the preseason scoring more than 30 points in his second game. He is looking impressive. I think we already have a nickname for him. Is THT. You need to watch THT at the Los Angeles Lakers. He's going to be a player too.
All right, Kaunda, is there anything else you'd like to add? I know we're going to be doing a lot of these in the next couple of days as we approach D-Day, but anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
Yes, I think 2 other players who are now going into the third year that you should watch is Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks, as well as Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. Those guys have always compared to each other because on draft night they were swapped for each other or by their respective teams, and they've always been compared like sort of like a Magic Johnson and a Larry Bird. I think also one Zach LaVine at the Chicago Bulls as Chicago builds that squad is something to watch. And the Brooklyn Nets, please watch them, because one, Kevin Durant has always been problematic, and so has been Kyrie Irving. I see some drama brewing in Brooklyn. So watch the Brooklyn Nets very carefully, because something is going to happen there on and off the court, and it's going to be very entertaining. Probably more entertaining than even the Clippers trying to beat the Lakers, which I think is going to be a comical error.
Trying? Is that what we're going with?
Trying, I'm going to put it in bold, I'm going to italicize it, and I'm going to underline it. Trying.
All right, Kaunda, thank you as usual for joining us. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Talu. It's always a pleasure on my side, too.
All right. More from the sports desk. It's Feel Good Wednesday here at Spring TV. And of course, something to make you feel good in sports news. According to a report by Sports Corner, West Ham United and Newcastle United are going to go face-to-face fighting and trying to get a signature from our striker, very own Fashion Sakala. Now that's exciting if you ask me. And it's not just something big for Fashion Sakala as a player. It's something big for Zambia. Having representation in the EPL, that's the English Premier League, is a big deal. So let's look forward to that. And of course, we do hope they put up a lot of money. He has to be expensive. And that's it from the sports desk from Sports News. My name is Talum Cooper. Back to you in studio.